Good morning, everyone. Hello. Do we have? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nice to have you back here again. So today, yeah, welcome back to this week's session. So today we will continue from where we stopped. I uh, I was unavoidably absent last week. Yes, but today, by the grace of God, I'm here. So we are going to continue from where we stopped. I was made to understand that the previous class, you did some practicals. You had some practical sessions covering HTML, right? Covering HTML and then some CSS. So and then a little bit of React, right? So today we are going to do some practicals also. Continue from where you stopped, and then we add more onto it. But before we continue, if you remember, in the last upper class, we covered introduction to front end development, right? And then we looked at UI, UX, user interface, and user experience. We looked at that, and then the next on that agenda, theoretically, we are to look at uh, version control and collaboration. The program is designed to have some theoretical parts as well as practical, which is more important, which is where we are throwing more weight on the practical side of the program. But today, this morning, we are going to brush a little bit of theory on the version control before we move on to the practical side and then continue from where you stop. So this morning, what we are going to look at we are going to look at version control. What exactly is version control? What does version control mean? Version control. So basically, version control is a system or tool that helps software developers manage changes to source code or other project files over time. It tracks every modification made to files in a repository, allowing developers to access specific versions, collaborate efficiently, and maintain a complete history of project evolution. So, in essence, everything we're saying is version control basically is a tool in software development and in software engineering and software development. What it does, it just manage the changes that are being made to source code. Just the changes that are being made to source code. That is what version control means. Like it takes control of versions. If you know what a version means, like for a product, okay, you have version one, version two, version three, So how does that happen? What are the changes between version one and version two? What are the modifications between version three and version four? Right? So this tool makes it makes managing this source code easy. So that is basically what the version control means. We have various types of version control system. We have the local version control, right, which tracks changes on a single computer. And then we have the centralized version control, which stores all files version in a central server. You know, like for those of us that have been around the tech, around the tech environment, I'm sure we might have heard client server architecture, right? So we might have had client server architecture. And for those of us that have not heard about or don't know about the client server architecture, so basically what that architecture means is a computing architecture whereby usually a particular system or computer, usually powerful in terms of memory, in terms of processing power, and in terms of other resources, right, serves other computers, which are the client, right, with those computer resources. Those computer resources can be memory, can be network, can be processing speed, processing power, name it, whatever resources. So the computer that is serving the orders is the server, while the computers that are receiving those resources, those services from that other powerful machine are the client. So in this sense, so the version control system, part of the type of version control system, we have the centralized version control system, which stores all the files on a central server. So, and then next we have the distributed version control system. So on the distributed version control system, each user has a complete copy of the repository, allowing for more robust workflow. So what this basically means is that in a software development team, right, we might have team members, developers, a lot of them, depending on the nature of the project and depending on the complexity of that software project. So we might have a very, very large team of developers. Some might be dispersed across geographic location. Maybe we might we a lot. It's so common that you see in a software project, we have some developers from India, some developers from Pakistan, there's some developers from Kenya, and and some other developers here in Nigeria. We work together, right, on a system for a particular goal to achieve a particular objective, but we're dispersed globally. We're different geographic location. Hence, we work on the same thing at the same time, and then there is no error. So that is what this version control system means. And this distributed version control system, this type, it gives each and every developer access to the entire repository. Access to the entire repository. You have access to the entire repository. You can make some changes, some modifications, and every other member of the team will see who made that modification, who made that changes, who made everything, at what time, when was that being done. If you want to revert to the previous, we can do that. If you want to, everything is being just transparent. Everything just so an example of this distributed version control is we have the Git, which is the most common, most popular. We have the Git. So we look at that. So moving on, I'm sure some of you will be asking, why are we talking about this version control system? What importance does it have? What is the use and all that? So let's look at the importance of version control in software development. So the first thing is collaboration. So it streamlines teamwork. Basically, like I mentioned earlier, multiple developers can work on the same project without overwriting each other's changes. Yes, I'm part of a software team with two other guys, right? So when I work on a particular feature, on a particular function, so that other person, a member of our team, can also work probably on the same file, on the same source code, right? Without overwriting what I have done. Without overwriting what I have done. So basically it is. So another thing, a part of the collaboration, it supports branching and merging. This basically means that team members can create separate branches for new features, bug fixes, or experiments and merge it into a main project when ready. So is everyone with us? Is everyone following? Is everyone is there anybody that is missing, that is not together with us? All right, good. It's like everyone is following. That's great. That is great. So next, in the importance of version control, we have the history tracking. So history tracking basically means that it maintains a detailed log. The version control system maintains a detailed log of changes with metadata. Example, who made the changes, when, and why, right? As a member of a team, I made a change to a particular code, right? So that particular change I made to that particular source code, the system takes note of that. It will keep the history of that, the dates, the time, right? When I, that is the when I made the changes. And of course, it's me that made the changes. It will take note of this user, that me, like Shehu, made these changes, right? And why? Because I there will be a reason. Why did I make these changes? Okay, why did I make these changes? So of course I will have to put that. It takes note of that too. So every other member of the team will that is part of the team will know and see everything. It's very, very transparent. It's very, very transparent. So it helps in audit trail and understanding the evolution of the code base. So over time, all the changes that have been done to a particular project is being there. Is being there. So over time, all the changes, all the modification that has been done to that particular software is there a record. Is there a record. The software has evolved from something small to something massive to something dynamic, something big, something complex. All that record of the changes is being there. So that is another importance of this version control. So next we have backup and recovery. Serves as a safeguard against accidental loss of code or data. Of course, it enables developers to revert to previous versions in case of errors or bugs. It's common in software development whereby you have created a function and a feature. It's working perfectly fine. It's working good, but you really need to do some changes. Maybe you really want to do some changes, some modifications. But along the way, after altering the source code, after playing around with the source code, and then you run it, and then you figure out that it's giving you an error. It's giving you some problems, like it's giving you some bugs. So and then it's not working fine, and then you want to revert back to the previous stand. You can do that. It gives you That's one of the importance. So you can revert back to the previous changes that you've done. It will be all fine. You are safe. So there's nothing to scare about. Well, okay, oh, you've made some changes to this future, and now it's not working. Oh my God, you don't have to panic. Say, oh, it's not working. Oh, I'm so confused. How do I? You just in some few steps, you can revert back to your previous changes. So next is conflict resolution. It identifies and helps to resolve conflict when multiple developers edit the same code file. So, like I mentioned earlier, like let's say five developers can work on the same project, on the same code file. Maybe I made some changes, somebody made some changes to that same file, somebody also made some changes to that same exact code file. So it can be identified, it can be resolved, it can be undone. Like so, it's easy for conflict resolution. It's easy for conflict resolution. So it identifies and help resolve conflicts. Yes. So next we have facilitates experimentation. It encourages experimentation with few features through branching without disrupting the main code base. So next we have code quality and reliability. It enables code review and collaborative problem solving, enhancing overall code quality. And then it also automates testing and deployment pipelines. Yes. So for example, like GitHub, one of the most popular and commonly used version control system, you can deploy you can deploy your system from there. You can deploy your system online from there. So it automates testing and deployment pipelines. So it, and then next it supports continuous integration and continuous development, which basically means that it integrates seamlessly with tools, test and then deploy code efficiently. Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. And next, it's scalability. Version control systems, they support scalability. Projects of any size, from solo developers to large team working on complex systems, it can support any number of developers. So, and the size of project, depending, you can start your project small, maybe very, very small, and then you can maybe increasing the scope of your project. You are increasing the scope of your project, the complexity of your project, and then you also need to, because of that, you need to hire more developers. You need to bring more developers on board. You need to recruit more developers. It supports all that. You can always invite them. They can become contributors. You can invite them. They can come on board as your project is expanding. You are expanding your workforce also. The version control system supports all that. So next we have documentation. It automatically documents changes and provide meaningful insights for onboarding new team members or debugging. Yeah, just like I mentioned, when you want to bring on board new team members, you can do that. You can do that. Sorry about that. So it automatically documents all the changes. So when a new developer comes, he can sit down, he can go through every single thing. He can go through every single thing. He will see what have been done so far, by who, right? And what he wants to do will also be there. Will also be taken note of. So next is global accessibility. With modern distributed system like Git, like developers can work from anywhere, contributing to remote and global team setup. So like I mentioned earlier, now software development can be done across a single software development project can be done across a very, very broad geographic location because presently you can see we'll be working on project. We have some developers from India, developers from South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, the US, the UK, all working on the same project at the same time. So that is the version control system, global accessibility. So from anywhere you can access your repository, right? You can work on the project, you can access your repository, you can work on the project, and everything will just be going smooth. Yeah, that's that. So okay, Umar Mohammed, he said your slide is not changing. Is anyone also experiencing the slides not changing? Please, is it me or is it your own path? Is it your own network, Mr. Umar? So please, all right. So Yeah, let's let's move on. So here are some popular version control tools. Can you see my slide now, Mr. Omar? Is it moving? Popular version control tools. So one of the most popular version control tools is the Git. The Git is widely used. It's a distributed version control system. Yeah. So it's the most popular, most used. And then we have the SVN subversion. That is a centralized version control system. So right? And then we have a Mercurial. Oh, sorry. We have Mercurial. It's also a distributed system known for its simplicity. And then next we have the Perforce, high performance version control system for large scale projects. So because Git is widely used, popularly known among developers, commonly used and all that, for our projects, for our tasks, we will be working with Git, right? We'll be working with GitHub. Yeah. So that's what we'll be looking at for this our sessions. So okay, because of that, why do we choose Git? So let's look at Git and its features. Git is a distribution version control system designed to handle everything from small to large project with speed and efficiency, right? Okay. Git was created by Linus Torvalds in 2005. Git is now one of the most widely used tools for managing source code in software development. Unlike traditional version control systems, Git provides developers with a complete copy of a repository, enabling them to work offline and manage changes locally. So basically, what it means is that when as a developer, when you're working with Git, when you're working with Git, you have a copy of you have a copy of the whole repository. As a developer, you have a copy of the whole repository, right? So, and it enables you to work offline, which means you don't have to be connected. You don't have to be connected. You don't have to always be online, right? You can be offline. You can work on your own part. You can do the needful. You can work on your own part, do the needful, everything, and then when you're back online, right, on your system, when you're back online, you can just push it. You can just push it to the repo, and then it will just update automatically online. So every other member of the team will now have access to it. But you can work on it online on your local machine. On your local machine. So when at any time when you want to push it online, you can go on. When you connect, you can push it online, and then every other person will have access to it. So and one important thing for you to know is that Git is free. Actually, it's very, very free because it's an open source and supports collaboration, making it ideal for team and individuals working on software projects. Yes. So one of the key features of Git, of course, like I mentioned, is a distributed system. Each developer has a complete copy of the repository. I mentioned that, including the entire history of changes. Yeah. So basically, you have the entire project, every single thing on your machine, on your local machine, on your personal machine. So this ensured no single point of failure and enables work offline. Yeah. So branching and merging. This basically means that branching on Git allows developers to create lightweight branches for new features, bug fixes, or experiments without affecting the main code base. So merging changes from branches can be merged back into the main branch, enabling smooth integration of different contributions. So next we have fast and efficient. Git is actually designed for speed. That is one good feature of it. It's actually designed for speed, making operations like commits, diffs, and branching nearly instantaneous, even with large projects. What this basically means that as a developer, you've already done your part, you've already written your own code, maybe your own design, right, and all that. So immediately you commit your design and then push it, right, like instantly. Instantly, it doesn't take time. Like instantly, it reflects on the repo online, on the version control system. So every other developer anywhere around the world can instantly see the changes you've done, can instantly view it and see the changes you've done. So another feature of Git is, sorry, another feature of Git is it tracks changes. It tracks changes history. So all changes made to a project, providing a detailed history of modification, including who made the changes and why. Everything, every single thing will be seen. Yeah. So there's no how somebody will make changes to the software, try to sabotage for the purpose of sabotage, and will not be identified. For whatever reason you made changes, of course it will be you will be that particular developer will be identified, will be seen, right? Will be known, and the changes they made will be seen and everything. So another feature is staging area index. Changes are first added to a staging area before being committed. This allows developers to organize and review changes before finalizing them. Yeah, so before you finally commit your changes, you will have to look at them. The developer will have to, probably, if you want to organize them properly, review the changes before finalizing them. You have the staging area to do that. It doesn't go directly. And then collaboration support. Git is optimized for team collaboration, allowing multiple developers to work on the same code base without conflict. So conflict resolution provides robust tool to detect, manage, and resolve conflict that occur when multiple developers edit the same file. So distributed workflow is another thing. So you guys don't have to be working maybe parallel or working together and all that. So everybody can just be assigned different tasks, can do his own tasks at the same time. Everybody, like, you can work at the same time, working on the same file at the same time. There's no problem to that. So it's actually so secure. Git uses cryptographic hashing to ensure that integrity of codes and prevent tampering. So compatibility with hosting services works seamlessly with platforms like GitHub, right? GitLab, Bitbucket, and Azure repos for remote repository hosting and project management. And then it's lightweight tags and annotated tags. Tags can be created to mark the specific commits. Yeah. So more on the feature is undo and rollback. Gives This provides tools to revert changes, reset to previous states, and manage mistakes without losing valuable data. And one very very nice feature of Git is that it's open source and community driven. It is maintained and improved by a vast community, ensuring continuous updates and support. So customizable hooks. Developers can use Git hooks to automate actions, example running tests before commit and sending notifications after push. And then it supports multiple platforms, multiple operating system like Linux. We can work with Git on Linux, Mac OS, and then Windows, ensuring wide accessibility. So every developer can use his own machine, yes, can use his own machine on any platform, whether Linux, Mac, or OS. Yes, you can work with Git. You can do the if you- So I'm sure some people will be asking, why are we talking about Git, Git, Git? So what is the advantage of using Git? So one of the main advantages of using Git is that Git enables distributed development and remote collaboration. Distributed development and remote collaboration. What that means is that distributed development, the developers can be distributed. They can be working together distributedly and remotely, and remote collaboration. Yes, it facilitates robust code management for large and complex projects. Another advantage of Git is that it enhances team productivity and code quality through effective versioning and collaboration tools. Next, it allows integration of modern DevOps practice like CI and CD pipelines. So is everyone following? Please, can you read the complaints made on YouTube? Your slide is just hook on item 9 and 10. So your slide is still showing importance of version control number 10. Okay, okay. So are you seeing the slides now? Advantages of GitHub? Now is okay. All right. So we are talking about advantages of GitHub, because sorry, advantages of Git, because I've been mentioning Git. What is the advantage of using Git? Is everyone with me on this, please? The slide on the screen is different from what you are explaining. Okay, so is everyone on this, please? Advantages of, you skipped Git. I'm with you. Okay, yes. So everyone is okay. Is everyone is on this page, right? Advantages of Git, please. Okay. All right. All right. So we'll soon go into the practicals. We'll soon go into the tech as in the practical side. So please, I just want us to just know why we are doing what we are doing. So that is why we are all. That is why I'm passing through the slide, the advantages and all that. So we are now on advantages. Okay. All right. That's great. All right. Great. So like I mentioned, one of the advantages of Git is it enables distributed development and remote collaboration. Right? Yes. So it facilitates robust code management for large and complex projects. Right? So thirdly, it enhances team productivity. Right? It enhances team productivity and code quality through effective versioning and collaboration tools. Yes. So basically, any number of developers on a team, right, can work on the project at any point in time, any day, anytime, on the same file, two or three developers or team members can work on the same file at the same time, even at the same time, right? You are doing your own, I'm doing my own, and there will be no conflict. So yes. So likewise, any part of the project, you might be working on something, a feature on the project, and somebody is working on another feature of the project. For example, I might be working on registration end of the project, user registration and all that, and another person will be working on the user login, all at the same time, all at the same time. But somebody else might be in Japan, right? Somebody else might be in Enugu, you understand? All at the same time, and everything is in real time. And somebody else might be working on some other part, maybe offline, right? Offline. So whenever he feels that okay, I'm ready, or maybe I need to get a network, maybe to push it. Whenever he gets that network, whenever he comes out online, he can now push his own part of the changes, part of the development, part of his contribution to the project that he has done. He can push it, and every other person on the team can also have access to it. So that is just the basic idea of the Git repo version control. So per adventure, any changes, any modification, it's also being tracked, it's being traced to. So it allows integration with modern DevOps practices and CI/CD pipelines. So next, so for now, for the before we move on, so let's look at this Git, because I mentioned earlier, GitHub is the popular and most common version control system that is in used by software developers and software engineers today. So we are going to be looking at actually GitHub. So for those of us that do not have a GitHub repo, we are going to first of all, what we are going to do now is we are going to create a GitHub repository. After creating a GitHub repository, then we will now access that GitHub repository from our IDE, our integrated development environment, which is a Visual Studio Code, and then we will see everything, the development that we do, all the changes, modification, how it's being traced, how it's being tracked, how the changes and all that. And then we're working with React. Because if you remember, this is a front-end development. We are looking at front-end development course. So we will be using React. We'll be using React for the front-end design and all that. So for now, let's if you have, please can you, for those of you that do not have the repo, we can go on to your browser and then type in github.com. Are you seeing my screen? Okay, let me switch the screen. Please, can you see my browser? Can you see github.com? Hello? Please, are you seeing my screen? Github.com? Okay. No, not yet. Okay, some other people are not seeing. Uh, okay, please, I'm coming a minute. Let me share it again. Share screen. Okay, please. I don't know. I don't know why it's trying to. Sorry, please. Let me just try share. I don't know. Let me share again. I don't know why it's I'm not really sharing. Please, can you see my screen? Okay, I'm coming. I don't know why this thing can be misbehaving. Let me do like this. Okay, please, can you see my screen now? Hello? You still can't see my screen? A lot of you still can't see my screen. All right, I'm coming. And I don't want you to be seeing my face. You keep saying you are seeing my face, but you can't see my screen. Uh, Chrome tab, window. Okay. Oh, it's sharing, but it's not. I don't know. It's sharing from this end, but you are not seeing it. Let me do entire screen. Sorry, please. Let me try one more thing. Let me try refreshing. Let me try refreshing the because I don't know why it's showing me everything is fine sharing, but Okay, so we are back. Sorry for that interruption. Sorry for that interruption. So please, let's quickly. We've wasted some time. Let's quickly move on. So please, uh, okay, is anyone seeing my screen now? I'm sharing my screen. Is anyone seeing it, please? No, no. What's wrong? What could be the issue? What could be the problem? I may make I hide my face. They say now my face and they see. It's sharing, but you can't see. I don't know why. Sorry, please, just a minute. I'm coming. So let's not waste so much time. Let me just continue let me just continue verbally until we can't see your face or screen now. It's blank now. Yes, I'm the one that blocked my because some people I'm the one that closed my face. But I want to share the screen. I've been sharing the screen. It's saying it's sharing fine, but it's not. You guys are not seeing anything. Okay, okay. I guess. Please, can you see the screen now? Can you see the screen now, please? Hello. Is anyone seeing my screen? Please, is anyone seeing the screen? Okay, yes. All right, please. We've wasted so much time. Let's quickly run. Okay. Here. Okay. Please go to github.com. I already have a GitHub account. I'm trying to, because of the way I'm trying to show you, it's refusing. That's why I'm having issue with the sharing screen. I want to use a different desktop to show you the entire process, and that was what resulted to the issue of no screen sharing. So please, I want you to go to, okay, let me share. I want you to go to github.com, please. If you go to github.com, at the top right corner, I'll be a little bit fast. I'll be a little bit fast. Maybe later on you can come over and then watch the video again, and then we can also interact in the group. We can also interact, sorry, on the platform. So I will always be there. Please do not hesitate to ask any question any day, anytime. Please, I emphasize on any day, anytime. Please do not hesitate. We are all here to learn. We are here for one another. There will be support any day, anytime. So please go to github.com. When you go to github.com, at the top right corner, you see sign up. That is for those of us that do not have a GitHub account. You see sign up. When you click on the sign up, right? So you will see sign up to GitHub. You enter your email, or you enter your email address. I already have an email address signed up to that GitHub, so it will not accept my own new registration. It will not accept my registration because I'm already signed. You are with me, right? So, all right. So you sign up your email address, you enter your password. After entering your password, right, then you enter your username. Your username can be anything. You choose to write anything that you want to be called. You want your account to be called, just like your Twitter handle, Instagram handle. So that's the username. You enter it, and then you click continue. After clicking continue, I'm sure they will send you an email to verify your. They will send you an email to verify your email address before continuing. So after you've verified your email address and all that, so that's when you'll be able to now log in using your username and then your password. You'll be able to log in using your username and password. So when you do that, I'm not seeing anything. It's completely blank here. Please, who else is experiencing this? Good. Samson Dockers. Uh, how many people are experiencing blank screen, please? How many people are experiencing blank screen, please? Can you see what I'm doing? Okay. Please, if you're experiencing any blank screen, please indicate. Please indicate. Dockers, you're on your own. Who is this? Abdulaziz. I can see your screen. Okay. All right. So Dockers, please check your connection. Probably. All right. So please, after you successfully log in, this is the dashboard of the GitHub. This is my dashboard, personal dashboard. So you also have your own personal dashboard. All right. So to the left here, you see top repositories. These are list of repositories, list of projects, list of projects I've been working on or I've worked on, right? They are repositories. If you want more list, here you see more here, right? You see more here, right? So when you click, the list will expand. So you see other repositories, all the repositories you've been working with. So to create a new repository, you click new here, right? And if you are new, for other alternative also, this is just like I mentioned, this is the dashboard. So there's just maybe introduction to GitHub when you are new, when you want some introduction, GitHub pages, code with Copilot, hello GitHub activities, and then down here we have start a new repository. Wow. Is everyone with me, please? I can see your screen. Thank you very much. She's the only one. Okay. All right. All right. So thank you very much. Let's continue. Let's continue. Thank you very much. So let's continue. So here you see start a new repository. So repository name. So you enter your repository name. So your repository name can be anything you choose to be. You can say front front dev activities. Or you can say front dev projects. Yeah, we can just leave it as front dev. You see here it says front dev is available, which means the name of your repository is available. You can choose, you can work with it. You can work with it. So, but to proceed, you might want to make there's accessibility options here. It says public and it says private. Public, anyone on the internet can see this repository, right? So it says anyone on the internet can see your repository, can have access to it, can view it, can see inside your repository. While the private, you choose who can see and commit to this repository. So when you choose private repository, it's only you that will have access to that repository, and any other person, you choose to invite to be a contributor to that repository, right? So I will advise for you to always go on private repository, depending on the nature of the project you are doing, depending on the sensitivity of the project you are doing. You should go for private. However, if it's not of any serious concern to you, you might make it public. You might make the repository public. So for this class, because it's for this session, I'm going to make the repository public, right? So any one of us, anybody can access the repository we are going to work with. Anybody can access the repository we are going to work with. So what I will do, probably maybe after this session, I will make some files. I will create some files in the repo. I will populate the repo. I'll do some activities. So any of you can go ahead, have access to that repository, right? And then you can see one or two things we are going to do. You can also experiment every single thing. So is everyone with us? Is everyone with us? Is everyone, are we on the same page, please? All right. It seems like we are on the same page. Says yes. All right. So I'll create this repository, front dev, right? I'll make it public here, right? And then after doing that, I'll just come here, click on click on create new repository. So I'll click on it, create new repository. So it has created the repository. Here, this is the repository, front dev, right? Like front end development, because this course is about front end development. So it's a front dev. So yes, so this is all about, because this repository is new, that is why it's you see it like this. But for adventure, when we add some files to the repository, this view will change. Up here, you see we are under a code tab, right? It says code. So under here, it will show the files to your project. And then we have the next tab, we have issues, we have pull request, action, projects, wiki. I'll explain each and every one bit by bit. So on here, it says add collaborators to this repository. Search for people using GitHub username or email. So what we will be doing, right? What we will be doing is if you want to add another person, let's say this repository is private. I've made it public, as you can see here. I've made it public here, right? But let's say I want to create, I want to invite a contributor. I want to make somebody a contributor. Okay, who should I make contributor to this, please? Who should I make a contributor to this, please? Okay, let me search for a name. Okay, I see Ali Abdul Quzis. Abdulaziz, right? Okay, so let me just say invite a contributor. So this contributor basically means basically means a person like who can make changes, right? Who can make changes to the source code. So I've clicked on that, right? So I will now, it says manage access. It says manage access. You haven't invited any contributor yet. So what I will be doing now, maybe probably I want to add another contributor to this. So I will have to search by username, right? Or full name, or even email. So what I will do is I want somebody, okay, username Salemori, Abi Selmori, okay, Salemori. Okay, I think I have you here. Aduragbemi Oduntan, right? Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's you. So let me add this as a collaborator to this. So it says add Salemori to this repository. Okay, I've added you. So it says Salemori has been added as a contributor on this repository. So what this means that any other thing we do on this project, right, you will have access to it. You can modify it. So what I will do right now, I'm going to move on to Visual Studio Code, right? i'm going to I'm going to move on to Visual Studio Code, where we can do the manipulation with the codes and all that, right? Then I will now make reference to this repository, which means I will now call this repository. I'll now link from Visual Studio Code. I will now link it to this repository. I can now create files, right? The design and all that, everything we can now access it, and then yeah. So Aduragbemi Odutan. So it's saying pending invite. So you can accept the invite, and then you now become a contributor to this. So now let me just move to the Visual Studio Code. So right now I'm in Visual Studio. I'm in VS Code. I'm in VS Code at the moment. So how many of you are with me right now, please? How many of you are with me, please? Okay. Everyone is with me. Are you seeing my screen in Visual Studio Code now, please? Is everyone seeing my screen in VS Code? I want to start the actual design development. Let's look at let's look at what we are doing. We can't see. Okay, it's a I'm with you, sir. Okay, okay, all right. So fine. All right. So that's good. So on Visual Studio, right? On VS Code, right? So when it starts at the welcome page, you see new file, right? You now see open file. After open file, you see open folder. You see open folder. So basically, the new file is when you are creating a very new file. So the open file is when you're create when there's already an existing file and you want to open it. That's when you click on open file, open folder. So for now that we are going to clone something from our repository, what we are going to select is clone git repo. Is everyone with me? Can you see everything I'm doing? Please, can you see what I'm doing? Adediran, we are not seeing your VS Code, sir. Uh, okay. Okay, please. What about now? Can you see the VS Code now, please? Okay, please. What about now? Can you see the VS? We can't see the VS Code. Okay. Okay. All right. I hope this doesn't affect. Let me share again. So I hope this doesn't bring us back. I'm coming. Let me change the. Okay. Okay. I'm coming, please. All right. Oh. All right. Please. I'm trying to. I'm trying to ensure that the screen sharing. Sharing the. I think you're. I think you're only sharing your browser, not your entire desktop. I'm actually sharing the entire screen, not the browser. Richard, I'm actually sharing the entire screen, not the browser. Uh, Blank display. Okay, it's coming up. Uh, okay, let me see. Is the VS code is it showing? No. Okay, maybe you can see it now, right? Okay. So, all right. Okay. So here you see we have new for you see we up here you see we have new file, right? Start here. We have new file. We have a open file, right? And then we have open folder, and then we have clone git repo. That is the one, two, three, four. The fourth, we have clone git repo. Are you all with me? Clone git repo. All right. So when you click on clone git repo, still we can't see it. But please, Hassan, can you see it? Somebody is complaining he can't see it. Somebody said I can see it now. Yeah. Auditon said I can see it now. Okay. Wala said he can see it. Okay. Okay, great. You can see it now. So when you click on clone git repo, right? Up at the top of your screen here, you see something appears like a search bar, and it says clone from GitHub, right? The blue. I'm here. I'm here, right? It says clone from GitHub. Okay. So when you click on clone from GitHub, click on clone from GitHub. Actually, so it will now display the list of your the entire list of your repositories, right? So it will now show all your repositories. Then you now select which one do you want to clone. Which of the repos do you want to clone? Then you now, I think we just created this one, right? The first one, dev front. Sorry, front dev. If you can see, front dev was the one I just created right now. Is that right, Mr. Odinton? That's right, Abi. That was the one I just created. The one I shared. The one I invited you as a collaborator. That's that one. Okay. So because of time, I'm going to work on that repo. Maybe later I'll populate it with a lot of files, a lot of dev stuff around other thing, which I want every one of you to, that's great, which I want every one of you to be part of, to play around with. So for the want of time, I will continue working with. Let me just select a populated repo already, a repository that is already populated, so that we can just I can just show you what I want to show, and then later on we can. Yeah. So I'm now in a repository up here that is named as Student Pass. I was working on a project for Student Pass, right? It says so. This is the name of the repo. So every other thing here is the file that is inside this repository, right? That is the name of the repository, Student Pass. So all these files are inside here. So for our design, what we normally do as a professional practice, as a normal convention, you have to is a very good programming practice that all your files of similar types, like for example your interface design, everything should be you should put everything inside a particular folder, right? Maybe you should name them screens. You should name them as screens, SCREENs, right? So to do that, you shall come here when you when you put your cursor in front of on top of the actual repository name, you see this new file, you see new folder, right? And refresh. I'm sure last class you have already been shown this, right? In your last class. But today we'll be working with React. So I'll show you everything. I'll create everything. I'll make the materials available on the platform. I'll make every single thing very detailed for you to understand at your own pace, right? At your own pace, at your own time. There will be some tasks that will be given to you, which you will do, right? I will send everything to them. So on this here, I have assets. Like assets basically means like what we normally put under assets are like images, like images, videos, right? Designs, they are what we call assets. For example, here is a folder under this, inside this repository is a folder called assets. This assets contains images. For example, now these images, I open this. Okay, it's just a simple design, right? Okay, let me now use this one. Okay, this is a React logo, right? This is a React logo, so it's part of the assets for this project, right? And then I have something like image user, something like this. It appears, right? Okay, so let's continue. Assets. So we normally put these images under assets because we use them at some point in time. Then we have another folder called screens. Look at it here. I created another folder called screens. So this displays every single screen design I want, every interface, every interface design I want, right? And some other codes. So they appear under screens. Like for the back end functionalities and all that, maybe I'll create another folder called functions. So for example, now inside these screens, right? So there's a particular file here. Mind you, because React is a framework of JavaScript, right? So React files are being saved as the name of the file with a format .js, .js.javascript. That is it, because React is a framework of JavaScript. It's a front end development framework actually. It's being used to design interface. I know last week you had been taught about HTML, the hypertext markup language, the CSS cascading style sheet, and then a little bit of JavaScript and all that. So those two, they are the basics. They are the basics, right? For any development, for any web design, web development, as well as other interface design, they are the basics. But to match up to the present standard of today and all that, you will have to work with the type of React, the type of frameworks like React. They are so common. They are so common. That is, the library is so common. That is why there are a lot of React developers. You can never get stuck on that. If you get stuck, of course, you will not, at least it will not be difficult for you to have one or two other people that can assist you through. Yes, so that is why we always use React, and it's very, very easy to learn and easy to use. So let me just open this file here. I call it ideas form. I call it ideas form. So to run this, I call it ideas form. If you look at it, a React file starts with an import React use state from React, import formic, and all that. You have to import all these libraries. In the material I'll make available for you, I'll put everything. I'll make sure it has everything comprehensive for you that you can read and understand. You can go through, right? It will be used for your it will be used for your own consumption at your own pace. I will make everything detailed for you by the grace of God. So, but let me explain this for you before I. Okay, let me just run it and then explain it to you side by side with the code. And so you come to run. Sorry, you come to this three dots, terminal, open new terminal. So is everyone with me? Are you all with me? Okay, all right. So let me just run it. npm start. Please, I'll make everything in the material. I'll make everything in the material for you on how to download React, how to install it, how to do the configuration, how to do the installation, the configuration, the requirements and all that. I'll make it available in the material. I will send on the platform so that on your own time you can go through, you can do it. And when you have any question, any doubt, please do not hesitate. You can always reach out and we'll get back to you soonest. So to run this, I'll write npm start and then I'll click enter. So you will see this particular interface, this particular code that I've written, it, what it will show as the interface. I'll explain each and every bit of it. So everything you see here is a React code. I'm sure you see it. It will be similar. It will be similar to the HTML that you were being taught. Can you see my screen, please? Oh, great. Okay, great. All right. So this particular file, let me start explaining it. Let me start explaining it for you, like side by side. This code and then the entire screen. Let me explain the codes for you and then the entire screen and all that. So in React, right? First of all, you have to bring some import. You have to declare some imports. React, as it is like this in this top, React use states from React. Then there's import formic. This formic, that this number line 2, this line 2, right? I'm talking about this formic, is a library in React that is used for validation, for form validation, right? So it's a library for form validation, as well as this import asterisk from YUP. They are all meant for form validation in React. And then import ideas.form.css. So what I did is this particular file that you are seeing, it's just a form, like input text. It's basically this. Right? This, 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 this. So, but it's that is just what it is. Just these input forms. And then the button here, the update button you see here, and then the upload your passport and all that. That is just it. So, but the design of how it looks like this, the design of how it looks like this is another different thing altogether. If another different form altogether, let me show that to you. That is being done in a CSS file. That is this. That is this. So later when I share these files with you, so if you see here, it says ideasform.js. Did you see here ideasform.js, right? And here it says as ideasform.css. And it says ideasform.css. So this .js is just like the framework. It's just not the framework, sorry. It's just like the structure. The structure basically means okay. The structure basically means okay, I have a heading. This is the heading, right? Student registration form. And then I have a input field 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I have a I have an image here, and then I also have a button here. That is just basically it. But the placing, the arrangement, you know, the other formatting is all being done by the CSS file. It's all being done by the CSS file. So now let me explain this to you. So in React, basically, so after after the imports, after the imports, then you have what we call the return. This return is what gives it was shows on your browser. Anything from here, anything from here down going down like this, everything from here going down like this is what you see on the browser. Everything that I am highlighting, right, is what you see on the browser. Let me explain it bit by bit for you to understand. Okay, it's so similar to HTML that you learned, that was shown to you last week. So let me explain everything. So inside this return, right? Inside this return, this is the return, right? So it returns every single thing from here to the closing of this line to your browser. So like that, as I mentioned. So div class. So it says div class, right? You see here I have div class. This div means division, right? So I have a class name. This div class name, the class name is container, right? As you can see here, the class name is container. So inside this div, I have the h1, which means header 1, right? And this header 1, I have it as student registration form. So in html there are headers. We have the h1, h2, h3 to about h6, The H1 is the biggest, right? In terms of the header, like the main header. Let me say like the main header. Then we have H2 subheader, H3 subheader, also a subheader, H4, and that is how it is. So a H1 is like the main header. So like that is why it's in H1. So this div class is H1. So this H1 entire this student registration form is enclosed. If you see, it's enclosed inside H1. I have H1 to the right and H1 closing H1 to the left, right? To the left and right, right? So and then I create another div again, which I name the class name form container. Are you all with me? Okay, I like this. You all are following. Okay, I have form container. Inside this form container, I have this formic, this validation library that I mentioned for you earlier. And then I initialize the values for student ID, first name, middle name, last name, phone number, national ID, and then photos. And then I said validation scheme equals to validation, right? And on submit, and then it notifies this validation. It calls an alert to form the validation. So let me explain this to you. You see this container, right, is in this form. I just created it in this container, this class name container with the student ID and H1. So I just created it. Everything will just be packed. Let's say, let's say I take off this particular import file. I comment it and then I save it. I want to show you an example of what exactly I mean. I save it. So when I refresh this form, you see how it looks like. Okay. See how it looks like after refreshing it. Everything is just packed to one side. everything is just packed to one side, right? This the student registration form, the student ID, student name, student and all that, and then you have the update button here at the bottom, right? So let me go back to the Visual Studio Code. So now so what I did is that I'm importing. If you see, it says import.idsform.css. Because I'm in the same directory, same folder. This is the idsform.css. This is the idsform.java.js. That idsform.css. So now I'm importing this file. This file idsform.css is the one that contains the design. Okay. If you remember the container, right? Okay. That is this container. This class, this div class container is now this. It's now dot container, right? So I've given it a margin of 20, and the font family. This is CSS now, right? Design. This is CSS design now, right? So I've given the container a margin of 20 pixel, right? And then the font family of Arial sans serif. That is for that containers, right? And then you remember this H1 I'm talking about. This that is which means that everything inside this container, everything inside this container should be should have a font family of Arial or sans serif. That is what I said. That is what I mean. So, and then this H1 now, and then I'm being specific now. This H1 that is here right now. So this H1, what do I want it to be? So I want the text align for this H1 to be center, right? I want the text align for this H1 to be center. And I want it to have a margin bottom of 20 pixel. But if you look at this design before I implement that, I think this particular header should be uh, Times New Roman. Yeah, I think it should be Times New Roman. Are you all with me, please? Are you all with me? Are you following? All right. So this header, I think this header is Times New Roman. Times New Roman. In this header is Times New Roman, and then everything. So bringing this design, bringing this CSS design, right? So it has changed how this looks like. It has changed how this looks like. So now this form container, see it, div class, another div, div, another div. This form container, right? So should have another properties, another design properties, which is this. It has a flex direction of column. I want it to be like a column. That is what I mean. And then align item to center. It should be center aligned. Form group, label, then input. So let me show you in essence basically what I've done. I've reverted this back. So let me refresh. I've refreshed. So this was the form design. This is the design, the output that this CSS that this particular CSS file has given us. So let me just show you in essence what it means. So you see, like I earlier mentioned, this should be aerial and it should be centralized. right? So we have a student ID here. I have a student ID. So the student ID, it should be in a particular format, right? For example, your ideas student ID is in a particular format, right? Ideas slash something 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 something, right? Yeah. So forward slash something forward slash something. So it's in that format. So what I did now, like I showed that forming validation, that is used for that validation. So for example, now student ID, I want to write maybe ID, let's say just write 001, and then when you move to the next, okay, can you see the errors? Can you see the error message? It's showing. Can you see the error message? It's showing in red. Okay, it says student ID must follow the format ideas, right? Let me zoom it for those of you that will not be able to see, so that you'll be able to see it properly. So here you see it says this is an error. This is an error message, right? Showing me that, and how I did that in the CSS. Look at it. So you see it says error color red, right? Color is red, font size 12, margin top. So here, this is the div for the form. So you see, I enclose the form, everything inside a form tag. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of the form tag, right? Uh-huh. This is the beginning of the form tag till here is the end. Till here is the end of the form tag. Here is the end of the form tag. So let me show you something. I'll make the materials available for you so that you can see them and play around with them. So that particular student ID, interface, you see this particular student ID input field that you see, and everything around it, right? Everything around it is this particular highlighted code. It says div class form group, right? The label HTML4, then student ID, right? Are you following? Student ID, right? Then label the student ID. Then field type text. That is the type it will take in. It will take in at an input type of text. Then then the ID, student ID, the name student ID, then full width, then the error message. If there's any error message, then the class name is error message. Then it will display the error message. Then it will display the error message from this class name, error. Likewise, this is the first name. This is the first name field, right? It says the first name field. This is the middle name field, right? The middle name field. And then this is the last name field. And then phone number. Next, this is phone number. And then this is national identification and all that. So all this is what makes this registration code, registration form. So it says like in earlier on when we talked about front end development, we talked about user interface, right? UI, and the user experience, right? UX. So looking at this form like this, you will say yes, based on what you might personally want. You might say, okay, it passes your own user experience test. It doesn't, it did not pass your user experience expectation. But the interface design, okay, it passes your user interface expectation for a registration form. It does not pass your user expectation for a registration form. However, you see here, let me refresh it. I've refreshed it now. So it's just showing a student registration form, student ID, student name, right? And all student name, student first name, middle name, last name, phone number, identification number, and all. So I want to provide a student ID for the program, right? And the ID is in a particular format. When I want to pass the student ID, right? It says the student ID is required when I just maybe press enter there. It says when I press enter in any of the field to move to the next, it says that input field is required, right? The first one said student ID is required. Okay, please, I'm taking note. So I'm taking note. It's almost time to round up this session. It's almost time to round up the session. I'm aware. Aliu, no problem. So it says required, 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 required. So for the student ID, maybe the ID should be in a particular format. If I enter anything, then it has to tell me. The system will tell me. The system now it's communicating. That's the user experience, right? The user interface might not really, of course, the form should be more beautiful than this, should be elegant, should be attractive and all that. Yes, I understand. This is just like a simple basic example, but I'm just trying to show an example, like, right? So it says here, the student, I'm sure maybe it's very small, but let me zoom it like this. It says the student ID must follow the format IDS, IGF, ABJ, IPIL. You see, in this format, at least it's communicating, it's making more sense, right? So that is the experience. So using this, what experience are you having using this? Is it a challenging experience? Is it a stressful experience using this kind of system? So this is all part of it. So right now we can say, okay, we can say it's not really a stressful experience, right? Okay, you give the student, okay, you have to give the student ID. See, as you are typing, it's sharing. Okay, it's telling you, of course, really, the student ID format have to be in this format. That is it. Then the student name, of course, it can be anything. It can be anything, right? The student what is it called? Middle name. It can be anything. The last name too. I don't know. Maybe this guy is a Chinese guy that is filling the form. It's not Misha. So the phone number. The phone number. Of course, it has to be numeric, all right? And then the identification number. It says identification number also numeric. But depending on the type of identification number, it can be alphanumeric, right? So you can also select an image. Let's select an image. Select passport photograph. Okay, let's select uh let's select an image. Let's say, oh no, I need a different image. Nature background, user photo. Let's see this. Okay, so let's see this. Right, so here it says the national ID must be 11 digits, so let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Let's add another 0, 11. So you see there's a the experience using this system. So the experience using this system is not one that will stress you, right? Because it's basically like communicating to you. That's the experience on its own. Like, okay, let's say, okay, I've reduced the national ID number, so it's telling you, of course, it has to be 11. So like at every point in time, yes, the system is really, really giving you an interactive experience. So it's not that only when you go to press update or register information, and then it will be start telling you that your national ID is not valid, and then you start thinking, why is it not valid, right? Even before even before you pass even before you passed it is already telling you something. So like you just have to go on, you see, like here. So that is just it. Same thing with the picture. So what I will do is, it's almost time. It's time. So what I will do is I will create some project. I will create some things, some mini projects in the repository. I'll populate the repository. I will show you how to do that. I will share a material for you on how to do that, and I will do it. And I will still share materials for you on how to do it, right? So I will share a lot of things, including something like this, features like this. I'll create some things like this. I'll populate it, and then I will share that material, and then there will be some assignments, some tasks I'm going to send on the platform. So please, if there's any question, please, like I said, do not hesitate. Please do not hesitate to send in your questions any day, anytime on the platform. Please, I will respond to it immediately as soon as I see it. And if there's any other thing, maybe any other material, any other challenge that you have, please, you can always and anytime also share. There to give you are not just we are not just here to share the information, to also have support. It's supposed to be a long time support. We are supposed to have a long time support. If you have any other project, so you can share it. All the material from the previous material on the last two classes, I will also make them available to you on the platform, please. So if there's anything, please, let's communicate on the platform. So I guess it's time now. So we can continue on the next class. So before the next class, we can also keep in touch. I'll share the materials like I said, and then some assignments will follow. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. And God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.